As the title of this approach implies, authentic leadership is about authenticity of leaders and their leadership. Unlike many of the leadership theories that we discuss, authentic leadership is still in the formative phase of development. As a result, authentic leadership needs to be considered more tentatively. It's likely to change as new research about the theory is published. On the surface, authentic leadership appears easy to define. In actuality, it's a complex process and is difficult to characterize. One viewpoint that's of particular importance is the interpersonal perspective, which focuses closely on the leader and what goes on within the leader. It incorporates the leader's self knowledge, self regulation, and self concept. This perspective, the relational perspective, outlines authentic leadership as relational, created by leaders and followers together. It results not from the leader's efforts alone, but also from the response of the followers. Finally, authentic leadership can be defined from a developmental perspective. Taking a developmental approach, authentic leadership can be thought of as a pattern of leader behavior that develops from and is grounded in the leader's positive psychological qualities and strong ethics. Authentic leadership would be composed of four distinct but related components: self awareness, moral perspective, balanced processing, and relational transparency. Over a lifetime, authentic leaders learn and develop each of these four types of behavior. Formulations about authentic leadership can be differentiated into two areas. First, the practical approach, which has evolved from real life examples as well as the training and development literature, and the theoretical approach, which is based on findings from social science research. Both approaches offer interesting insights about the complex process of authentic leadership. The authentic leadership approach focuses on the characteristics of authentic leaders. Authentic leaders understand their own values and behave towards others based on these values. They have clear ideas of who they are, where they're going, and what the right thing to do is. Self-discipline is another dimension of authentic leadership and is a quality that helps leaders to reach their goals. Compassion and heart are important aspects of authentic leadership. In summary, authentic leadership approach highlights 5 important features of authentic leaders. Although still in its initial stages of development, a theory of authentic leadership is emerging in social science literature. Although people's interest in authenticity is probably timeless, research on authentic leadership is rather recent. One of the first articles on the topic was published in 2003, focusing on authentic leadership development and positive organizational scholarship. Interest in authentic leadership increased following 9/11, a time in which there was a great deal of societal upheaval and instability in the United States. In addition, researchers felt the need to frame the meaning of authentic and transformational leadership to operationalize the meaning of authentic leadership and create a theoretical framework to explain it. A major challenge confronting researchers in developing a theory was to define the construct and identify its characteristics. In an effort to further our understanding of authentic leadership, a comprehensive review of the literature was conducted. Self-awareness refers to the personal insights of the leader. It's not an end in itself, but a process in which individuals understand themselves, including their strengths, weaknesses, and the impact they have on others. Balanced processing is also a self-regulatory behavior. Although not completely clear from its title, it refers to an individual's ability to analyze information objectively and explore other people's opinions before making a decision. It also means avoiding favoritism about certain issues and remaining unbiased. Relational transparency refers to being open and honest in presenting one's true self to others. These factors form the basis of authentic leadership. The practical approach provides prescriptions for how to be authentic and how to develop authentic leadership. More specifically, that leaders become more purposeful, values centered, relational, self disciplined, and compassionate. Rather than simple prescriptions, the theoretical approach describes what authentic leadership is and what it accounts for. Authentic leadership is a complex process that emphasizes the development of qualities that help leaders to be perceived as trustworthy and believable by their followers. Recent research has focused on the effects of authentic leadership on followers and the impact of followers on authentic leadership development. Not only the authentic leadership correlates directly to followers who thrive at work, but also positive relationships between employee creativity and authentic leadership. Furthermore, research positively correlated the impact of authentic leadership on follower performance. Although it is in its initial stages of development, the authentic leadership approach has several strengths. First, it fulfills an expressed need for trustworthy leadership in society. During the past 20 years, failures in public and private leadership have created distrust in people. Second, authentic leadership provides broad guidelines for individuals who want to become authentic leaders. Third, similar to transformational and servant leadership, authentic leadership has an explicit moral dimension. Authentic leadership emphasizes that authentic values and behaviors can be developed in leaders over time. Finally, authentic leadership can be measured using the Authentic Leadership Questionnaire known as the ALQ. Authentic leadership is still in the formative stages of development, and a number of questions need to be addressed about the theory. While the practical approach is interesting and offers insight on authentic leadership, it's not built on a broad empirical base, nor has it been tested for validity. Second, the moral component of authentic leadership is not fully explained. Whereas authentic leadership implies that leaders are motivated by higher order end values such as justice and community, the way that these values function to influence authentic leadership is not clear. Third, researchers have questioned whether positive psychological capacities should be included as components of authentic leadership. Finally, it's not clear how authentic leadership results in positive organizational outcomes. Given that it's a new area of research, it's not unexpected that there are few data on outcomes. And in some context, authenticity may be counterproductive. Relatedly, it's also not clear in the research whether authentic leadership is sufficient to achieve organizational goals. There are perspectives set forth in the practical approach that help us in this regard. In spite of the lack of intervention research, there are common themes from authentic leadership literature that may be applicable to organizational or practical settings. Conceptualizing it as a lifelong learning process, some argue that authentic leadership is a process that can be developed over time. Another theme that can be applied to organizations is the overriding goal of authentic leaders trying to do the right thing, to be honest with themselves and others, and work for the common good. Last, authentic leadership is shaped and reinforced by critical life events that act as triggers to growth and greater authenticity. Authentic leadership describes leadership that is transparent, morally grounded, and responsive to people's needs and values. Although there's no single accepted definition of authentic leadership, it can be conceptualized interpersonally, developmentally, and intrapersonally. The practical approach to authentic leadership provides basic how to steps to become an authentic leader. In social science literature, a theoretical approach to authentic leadership is emerging. In addition, researchers have found that authentic leadership is influenced by a leader's positive psychological capacities, moral reasoning, and critical life events. Strengths include that authentic leadership is an answer for people searching for good leadership, provides guidelines for how leaders can be authentic, is explicit in its moral dimension, it's developed by leaders over time, and is measured with a theory based instrument, the ALQ. Some criticisms of authentic leadership do exist, including the ideas have not been fully substantiated. The moral component is not fully explained. Positive psychological capacities are not clear. It may be ineffective with millennials and new generations, and a lack of evidence regarding its effectiveness. In summary, authentic leadership is a new and exciting area of research which holds a great deal of promise in the leadership realm.